What's the best thing to do when you are filling your jars and you realize that you don't have enough to fill the last jar all the way? So if you don't have enough contents, we're using tomato sauce here, in order to reach the headspace, you have a couple of options. So for this particular, we need a 1/2 inch headspace, which would be the top of the liquid should come right to the bottom here. And you can see we're probably about 1 inch to 1.5 inches off of having enough. So with it being that far off, I'm gonna simply let this cool down so that it's not super hot. And then I'm just gonna put it into the refrigerator and know that we're gonna be making something that requires some tomato sauce in it this week for dinner. You could let it cool and freeze it. When you have something like tomato sauce though, I generally don't like to freeze it in the pint jars because those tend to have a tendency as they're thawing that they're more susceptible to cracking, usually the wide mouth. And I could transfer this to a wide mouth jar, but honestly, I know I'll make some recipe this week that we're gonna end up using this in. Now, one of the other options that you have is if it's just a little bit, so this needs to be to 1/2 inch, but say the liquid level was just a little bit off. You can keep boiling water because we need hot contents going into the jar before we put it into the canner. But you can have some hot water going in a kettle and you could just go ahead and top it off so that you're still meeting that headspace with just off the boil water. Now, of course, I don't want to do that to this jar because I don't want to add that much water to my tomato sauce. It's going to dilute it and it's going to make it too runny. So that's not something I'm going to do with this, but that can work really well if you just have a small amount. It can work if you're doing it with broth, of course, anything like that. The one thing that you don't want to do, however, is put a lid and a band on this and process it without it being at the proper headspace. We want to make sure that we are following the headspace that is indicated for each recipe, because if you don't, it can inhibit the ability for the jar to exhaust properly. It can also inhibit the ability for it to come up to the correct temperatures inside the jar during processing. It can have issues with sealing properly. So maintaining headspace is very important, but if you don't have enough contents to reach it, you now know your options.